So welcome all our young global citizens and whoever is joining us today. We are very happy to welcome a very special guest. Greg Daniels is with us today, whose credits and achievements in the world of comedy and television are almost too many to mention. He's a screenwriter, television producer, and director as well. He worked on several television series, including Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons, for which he wrote several classic episodes, including Lisa's Wedding, Bart Sells His Soul, and 22 short films about Springfield. Greg Daniels also adapted the very famous show The Office for the United States and co-created Parks and Recreation and King of the Hill. He started writing comedy with Conan O'Brien while they were both attending Harvard. The series King of the Hill he co-wrote with Mike Judge, ran for 13 years. In 2016, he was executive producer on the TBS series People of Earth. He co-created with the Office star Steve Carell the Netflix comedy series Space Force, and also created the Amazon science fiction comedy series Upload. Greg has been nominated for 20 Emmys and won 4. He worked with some of the funniest people in America and, dare we say, the world. The feedback he has received over his career is overwhelmingly positive and full of love. Greg, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everybody.
Greg, you are a father of 4, so that may explain in part why you accepted to be part of our educational project with teachers and students everywhere. On behalf of Young Global Citizens, thank you for meeting with us today and answering our questions.
My pleasure. Yeah, this classroom that I can see on the Zoom looks just like my kids' classrooms. Yeah.
So how old are your kids?
Well, they're mostly older now, although I have a 7th grader.
Okay. So you are ready to answer the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Fire away.
Okay, so we are going all the way to Africa. This question comes from Pike Noma, and it's representing our 14 participant schools in Malawi, Africa.
Wow.
My name is Pike Ngoma from Malawi, Central Africa. I'm also a board member for Hope Ministries International. Mr. Daniel, I have got a question for you. Can you please tell us about your early life? How did your family set up on your current path? And I would like also to know, what are you grateful for growing up?
I grew up with my mother and father and my little brother in New York City. And it was a childhood, I guess, that had a lot of funny stories. My father is a very good storyteller, and anything that happened to him, he would turn into a funny story and tell us that night at dinner. And then on my mother's side of the family, they had a tradition of every birthday or anniversary, we would make funny poems and read them out loud to each other. So I think that my parents, might have been preparing me for this career that I have, writing funny things. And let's see, they very much about education. My mom worked for the New York Public Library, and they put a big emphasis on being educated to me. And then I guess what I would be grateful for is the education and the role models of people who were being creative and having fun. And then there was this one thing that we had in New York when I was a kid, which were bus passes. So any kid who needed to get to school was given a little pass, and you could ride for free on any public bus in New York. And so you could go to school with it, but you could also, after school, you could ride around and see everything. So that was a good thing that I also liked about being a kid in New York.
Great. So now we are coming all the way to Canada, and the following questions will be asked by students from Vancouver, Canada.
What was Conan O'Brien like in Harvard?
Do you maintain a friendship till now?
Merci beaucoup.
Yes, Conan was a middle child, and he needed a lot of attention. And he's a funny combination of somebody whose parents really made him very well brought up, I think, and sensitive, but also he wants a ton of attention. So it's pretty much he likes to talk all the time, but the stories that he tells are very self-deprecating and are not too they make him be the butt of the joke. He used to tell me when I first met him, he told me that his father was an alcoholic, like street brawler, just an Irish stereotype of 100 years ago. And then when I met him, he was actually a medical researcher and very gentle person. And he played that trick on a lot of his friends. But he is one of my best friends still to this day, and I love him very much. So fun to think about him.
Thank you. So let's go back to Vancouver once again for another question.
What is it like putting together a show like The Office or Parks and Rec?
Well, it's a big undertaking, and the funnest part about it is that when you start off, you just have a script or an idea, and if they give you the go-ahead to turn it into a TV show, then you start to assemble all of the team, and you hire the actors, and you hire the other writers, and you hire the people that hold the cameras and that make the costumes, and usually they want to work on the show because they've read the script and they like it. And so you start to get together about 150 people who all really liked the characters and the script. And then once everybody's assembled, it's very fun because they all start to contribute. They all have ideas, and if you're the person that wrote the first script, then they turn and ask you what your opinion is. They go, well, should the costume look like this? Or would it be the kind of person who wears sneakers, or do they wear cowboy boots? Or so there's tons and tons of having to decide in the beginning, but pretty soon everybody sees what it is. And for a show like The Office that went on for 9 years, by the first few years, all the other people had their own strong opinions on whether they'd be wearing a cowboy shoes or or sneakers. So it got a little easier. But to me, that's the most fun. It's sort of like my job is sort of like to be a conductor of orchestra, and all the other people who work on the show are playing the instruments, and I'm saying a little quieter here, a little louder there. And my concern is that the whole story be told properly.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Vancouver. Let's go to Saskatchewan, still in Canada.
Hi, we're grade 7, 8, 9 from Grayson, Saskatchewan, and our question is, you work on a lot of animated projects.
Did you find inspiration in cartoons while growing up?
Are there some advantages in doing animation over live acting?
And vice versa?
Sure, those are very good questions. Yes, I've worked on a number of cartoons, the biggest ones being The Simpsons and King of the Hill. And I loved Looney Tunes when I was a kid, Bugs Bunny and Runner,
Yes.
The comedy timing is so wonderful on those old cartoons. And a lot of what they were doing, which is funny, is that they were imitating vaudeville acts. So a lot of the old comedy theater acts that predate radio and television, you can still get a sense of them from watching these cartoons. So I liked that cartoon growing up. And some of the advantages of it, it depends on your personality. If you're a little bit more of an introvert, then cartoons are great because you can do everything indoors and quietly, and yet you can still make a TV show. And so that's a plus. I remember there's a show that I do now called Upload on Amazon, and it's a big science fiction show. And on the first day of shooting, it poured rain. and you couldn't hear any of the sound. The rain was bouncing off all of the equipment, and everything turned to mud. And I remember thinking, boy, it would be nice if this was a cartoon. Warm inside.
This question is live now by a teacher from South Carolina in the United States.
Hi, Greg Daniels.
Hi.
So excited to meet you. My name is Cynthia Texera, and I am a French immersion teacher at Sullivan Middle School in South Carolina.
Great.
My question for you is, what makes a good character in your opinion? What is your creative process in creating a character? And what are some of your favorite characters that you've come up over the years? I know I have my favorites, but I want to hear all about you.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think this is a good question. And it is actually maybe a philosophical question too, because I think that human beings are complicated and interesting people, all of them. And so a good character on television should also have three dimensions to them. And so I talk about a character as having like a tripod. So to take one of my favorite characters, for example, Dwight Schrute on The Office. So he has a lot of different characteristics that don't necessarily all go with each other. For instance, he was a volunteer sheriff and he loves authority, but he also likes heavy metal music and anime, which is usually not associated with that, but he's also a farmer. And,
Lots of dimensions, that's for sure. Definitely appreciated by the audience, those dimensions.
Yeah, he's very attractive to some women, but very unattractive to other women. So he's got a lot of different characteristics. And for another example from that show is Kevin, who is one of the accountants. And one of my favorite moments in season 1 was he was not picked to be on the basketball team because Michael took one look at him and said, he's a heavy set person. He can't play. And then he ended up sinking 16 basketballs in a row from all different places on the court. That's what he actually did. He's a very good athlete.
Amazing.
And ended up editing it down and showing, 6 or 8 of them, just to prove that Michael didn't really know people that well.
Awesome.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Oh, questions will be live from students in Surrey, Canada, and let's meet also the principal.
Hello, Mr. Daniels. Well, hello from Surrey. We have all of our grade 7 class here, which is a big class, and our student leadership team who have a few questions for you today.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and my question is, what are your worries about the future and what makes you hopeful?
That was a good question. And I heard you were going to ask that. And it made me think. And I have to say that I don't know if the worry is so much about the future. I feel like at any time in history, there's always going to be problems. And there's kind of two types of people. There's the type of people that are brave about trying to solve the problems. And there's the type of people that run away from the problems and pretend they aren't there and don't want to deal with it. And I think that's probably been the case at all times in history. So I just feel like even if you start small, you want to try to build yourself into one of the kinds of people that are brave enough to take on the problems and try to work and solve them. And those are probably the kind of people you want to hang out with anyway, who are the people that do that. So that's kind of my take on things. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. And I have Stella here with our next question.
Hey.
Hi, Stella.
Hello, my name is Stella, and my question is, do you think comedy can help us deal with some of serious, painful, and scary things we deal with individually and as a species?
I do. I wonder if everyone thinks that. I think that, when I think about comedy, I think about basically ordering your thoughts in such a way that at the end of them, there's a sudden flash of surprise and insight, and it's a great way to make a point. And it's a great way to show that the emperor has no clothes, or that there is some sort of foolishness out in the world. But it's also a very powerful weapon that you want to not use to exclude people or make fun of people, but rather to protect people and make fun of bullies.
Yeah.
Versailles. Okay, nice and loud.
College from St. Cloud near Versailles in France would like to know
What item or personal, cultural, or environmental significance would you put in a time capsule to be opened by the next generation of children 30 years from now?
Yes, I thought that was a very cool question. I thought about that because you'd want to make sure that it was something really valuable that you'd want to save and protect for kids in the future. And so my answer is I would put in some DNA from a dog. So just in case anything happens to the dogs on our planet, we can rebuild a dog from the DNA, because I can't picture a better thing to have 30 years from now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And now, Greg, I get to ask the final question for today.
Okay.
And we can't thank you enough for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. And as a father and someone who has done a lot of thinking and writing, do you have a final piece of advice for young people who will one day be in charge of the planet, of our world?
Wow. Well, you should open up that time capsule and get some of that dog DNA out and make more dogs. That's my advice. Because when you're in charge, the capsule will be ready, and that's a good use to put it to. I'm not sure. I think you guys will figure it out on your own. And any piece of advice I have when you're 30 years from now is probably going to not apply to the world that we live in. But the show that I'm working on now, called Upload, is set in the year 2034, and I'm trying to think desperately hard every day about what life is going to be like in 2034. And, I just hope that there is a lot of nature left for you all to enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. We will share this interview with schools all over the world and everywhere on the internet to have your inspiring messages go everywhere we can. So thank you very, very much.
All right. Thank you.
Very good care.
Malawi.
Very best of
South
success
Carolina.
for you. Yes.
Have a great day, you all.
You are yourself now an official young global citizen. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you so much, everybody.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Au revoir. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bum ba da dum bum bum ba da 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 bum 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 ba ba da bum ba ba da bum 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 bum.